Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry about my surroundings. I've been working through since July, and it's been so busy that I literally have not stepped ashore until today. I worked from basically July right through until what we're in now, September, and I wasn't able to get ashore. And as a result of that, I wasn't able to film an update. I'm not allowed to film where I work, so I wasn't allowed to film an update. There's a lot going on in the next week or so, so I wanted to upload an update to be able to fill you in on what's happening and to talk about a little of what I can of what I've seen over the last couple of months. But I wanted to go through, address quite a few comments I had from some of the recent videos I've made. The first one is related to, it's going to sound funny, megabits and megabytes. I made a video recently about internet, about the cost of internet on yachts, and I talked about the speed, and I inadvertently said the word megabyte instead of megabit.
So 40 megabytes per month is $35,800.
A megabyte is a file size, and a megabit is a transfer rate, is speed from a file going from A to B. And I had quite a lot of comments telling me that I got that wrong. Yes, I do get it wrong. I often get those two things mixed up. It's very easily done. So I get that one wrong. I do usually correct myself. I caught myself in a previous video.
What yachts generally do is they'll have, say, maybe 3 or 4 megabytes or megabits, should I say, of internet speed.
It's a mistake I make, and I'll apologise, and I'll try not to do it again. Okay, another thing is, when I made the Dilbar video, I commented on how many antennas there were on board, and I got quite a lot of comments, and I've seen this in the press as well actually, quite a lot of comments about, oh, I'm sure he's got miniguns and anti-missile defence systems. This is a myth. This is something that's been made up by the press, I believe. These boats don't have that kind of equipment on board. They might have electronic devices, like there are types of electronic devices that emit loud noises, or that interfere with the drone's controller and stuff like that. So a lot of the yachts have that kind of equipment, but this idea that they have an anti-missile system, an anti-missile, I was in the military for 10 years, that anti-missile system is actually a missile system. So Iron Dome, for instance, is a missile system that intercepts incoming missiles. You're not allowed to have that stuff on a civilian vessel. If you tried to move around into all of these different countries, territorial waters with this kind of equipment on board, it would be impossible, because every single country with dispatch warships, you wouldn't be allowed in. It's not true. It's a myth. The press say it, and I've worked on some of the vessels that the press have said have these systems, and they don't have those systems. So yeah, it's not true. It's a myth. It sounds good. It sounds very James Bond, but it's not true. Back to the last couple of months, absolutely mega busy. The only kind of stuff I managed to film was like if I happened to be out on deck and I saw interesting vessel go by, and I would use my phone to film it. So some of the footage isn't so great. I mean, iPhone is not bad footage, but it's not the usual quality that I like to post. I went through the Corinth Canal in Greece, which I've never done before, partially because, as far as I'm aware, the vessels that I've been on in the past have been too large to fit through there. Whether that's true or not, I'm not absolutely sure. From the footage that I did shoot, that I'm able to put on here, the vessel I was on, it's much smaller than 100 meters, let's say, it looked like it was quite close. So I can't imagine that the vessels that I worked on, which were like 120, 130 meters, would have been able to fit through there. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But I've never been through there anyway, so it's not very often when you've been at sea for 20 years that you go somewhere where you haven't been before. Another great thing is I had access to a Riva Aquarama for a little while. I had hoped to make a video and to actually get in it and go for a drive and actually make a video about it. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. It's 40 years old, this boat. It's worth approximately €500,000. It was in absolutely impeccable condition. It looked absolutely beautiful and sounded amazing. And it turns out that the boats actually have American V8s in it. Because when I heard it, I thought it does sound like one of those old lazy V8s that you get in an Impala or something. And it turns out that they do have American V8s in. There is also a boat, built in 1968, a Riva, and it had two 12-cylinder Lamborghini engines in, which were adapted for marine use. Absolutely amazing. The idea of having this twin Lamborghini engined Riva Aquarama. I would love to find it. Maybe one day I'll find it and I'll make a video about it. I did find a video actually online about this very boat and about how it was rebuilt and brought right up to date, and the engines are redone. I'll actually post a link to it because it's great. It's a time-lapse video. Unfortunately, there's no information in the video. There's nobody telling you what's happening, but it's still interesting, worth watching. And Carlo Riva, the guy that Riva's named after, he passed away now. But when that boat was finished, he actually was there, and they took him out in it, and he got to see it again. And he was involved in it, obviously, in the original one when it was built. And the last thing I want to talk about is Christina O. So I was in Greece for some of the time, and I was out in one of the boats, and I saw Christina O. Now, if you don't know the story of Christina O, it's a fabulous story. I love anything to do with history. I'm a student of British military history as well, especially surrounding World War II. This boat was actually originally built as a Canadian minesweeper, and it actually was involved in the transatlantic crossings when we were bringing over supplies during the war from America to the UK. So that, for me, it was a special thing because my father was actually in the Merchant Navy during World War II, and he was actually on those crossings delivering this food in 1941. The worst time in World War II, we were losing 500 boats a month. Can you imagine that? 500 ships a month. This minesweeper was one of those ones in the convoys. So after the war, there were a lot of surplus warships, and a man called Aristotle Onasis bought this ship, and he bought it for $4 million. He spent $34,000 on it, I think, and he converted it into the yacht. And Aristotle Onasis is, you might know, is famous for marrying the widow of John F. Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy. So after he was assassinated, she went into hiding a little bit to get away from the press. Eventually, and she already knew Aristotle Onasis, and eventually they became a couple and they got married. And this yacht that he named after his first daughter, Christina O. And the boat is still in existence today. After Aristotle Onasis passed away, it was bought by a friend of his, and he spent $40 million refurbishing it, and he got it back up to its former glory. And he continued to use it until his death. And then in 2011, I actually went on board. A friend of mine at the time was the captain on board, and he invited me on, and I actually stayed on overnight. I actually slept in the captain's cabin. He was sleeping in a different cabin, and he let me sleep in the captain's cabin, which was quite interesting. Anyway, in 2017, it had a further $50 million spent on it, and it is now a charter yacht again. It was laid up for a few years, and it's now been brought back to its former glory, and it's just a fabulous boat. The people who've been on it include Winston Churchill and his wife, and Roosevelt, and there are actually manifests in frames on the wall of the people who visited, and it's got all the details on the date of birth, their passport numbers. It's fascinating. There are photographs on the wall of Winston Churchill when he was sat on board, sat out on the deck, you know, looking out to sea, contemplating his past, no doubt. And it's just a wonderful story. I really hope that one day I will get on this boat, and I will do a tour, or I'll talk more about it. I would love to be able to do that. The reason why I wanted to post this video is important because this time next week I'm going back to the south of France, and I'm going to be at the Monaco Yacht Show. I already mentioned it in the Monaco video, but I just wanted to confirm that I'm going to be there. I've got some great stuff planned. So please make sure you tune in. The channel's been very quiet over the last month, the last couple of months really. So I will, just to let you know, I'm going to be posting quite a lot of videos, hopefully, over that period. It's a 4-day period, the 26th to the 29th of September. I'll be posting quite a lot. I don't mean to spam you if you're a subscriber and you've clicked on the bell. You might get quite a few messages telling you there's a new video posted. I'm going to try and do a video for every day. I'm actually going to get to go on at least one super yacht to be able to do it, to show you around. I'm going to try and concentrate on certain things. So yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get on a couple more. But anyway, make sure you stay tuned, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.